Hey guys, it's the MetalBlade 5, and welcome to my response to Death Battle Android 18 versus Captain Marvel. Sorry, I'm just not really feeling it today because of my thoughts regarding this episode. So after Sub-Zero versus Glacius, it was revealed that the next Death Battle would be Android 18 against Captain Marvel, in which I was really confused about what the connection between the two of them was based on what I knew about them at the time. I get the connection now, but there's one thing I severely disagree on. However, from what I knew, I guess that Captain Marvel was going to win, which many other people also predicted as well. I wasn't really hyped for this episode, since it features two characters that I personally don't care that much for, but I was still going to watch it anyway. And for the first time in years, I can straight up say, I hated this episode. With Mewtwo vs. Shadow, I was more disappointed rather than straight up mad. And with the other episodes of Death Battle that I've responded to, I wouldn't really say that I dislike them, just that I disagree with the result. But this episode flat out pissed me off. Not just because of the result, but because of other things as well, which I'll explain later. Spoiler alerts, in the end, Android 18 wins. Now, there have already been a ton of videos arguing against this episode, so what can I bring to the table? While these videos have mentioned some of my issues with this episode, which I will admittedly be repeating, there's one major thing that the vast majority of this video do not cover, which is why I still decide to make a response to it. Most of these videos agree with the results of the fight and only complain about the way Android 18 was presented in her analysis. However, not only do I think that both characters were poorly presented in this video, but I strongly disagree with the result. I think that Captain Marvel should have won. When Android 18 won, I immediately thought that Death Battle has a lot of explaining to do if they want me to agree with them, and unfortunately few of their arguments convinced me in the slightest. So, as I always do in these Death Battle responses, I'm going to explain what I personally found faulty in Death Battle's reasoning, and bring up things that weren't mentioned or didn't appear to be considered to explain why I think the losing character should have won. But there are a couple of things I need to clear up before some of the more hardcore Dragon Ball and Death Battle fans lynch me. While Captain Marvel is my preferred character between the two, since I am a Marvel fan and not a Dragon Ball fan just because I've never watched the series myself, not only are there a bunch of Death Battles when my preferred character loses and I agree with the results, but compared to the other Marvel characters that have appeared in Death Battle, I have little attachment towards Carol Danvers, as not only was my first and only experience with her as a kid came from the Superhero Squad show, or as I like to call it, the one where the Avengers are all midgets, back when she was Miss Marvel, but also because I just don't hear much about her that often. I didn't even know that she became Captain Marvel until the movie was announced. So as such, she isn't my preferred character by that much. Second is that while I'm not a Dragon Ball fan, I did do research and fact-checking of 18's abilities and feats for this video. And don't worry, I did far more research here compared to the last time I talked about Dragon Ball characters in Death Battle. Lastly, of course, I do not intend any ill will towards Screw Attack. This is just me explaining why I so strongly disagree with this battle's outcome.
Captain Marvel may have been one of the Avengers' mightiest warriors, but she couldn't stand up to the impressive power, speed, and expertise of Android 18.
First off, the numbers don't lie. When it comes to speed, Carol's best record put her in just under 200,000 miles per hour, but 18 could move over 100,000 miles faster.
However, Captain Marvel's speed feat was from her base form. It's not the fastest that she can possibly go because, as binary, she can travel faster than the speed of light due to her being able to fly between planets in a short amount of time. Now, Ben did leave a comment stating that they messed up when calculating Android 18's speed, in which she can move faster than what they say in the video, with her top speed being over 15,300,000 miles per hour. However, upon converting her speed into meters per second, you can see that she's still slower than the speed of light. This means that Captain Marvel has the clear speed advantage as binary. And before people comment about this, I do know what they say about binary later on in the video, but I have a counter argument for that as well.
Most apparent of all, Marvel's durability and strength feats simply pale in comparison to 18's. The only way Marvel's power could match 18's was to absorb enough energy to reach her binary form.
But 18 is no stranger to that technique. There's no doubt she recognized what Carol was doing and stopped feeding her energy.
So now we get into why I think that both Android 18 and Captain Marvel were poorly portrayed in this episode. In this case with 18 and her supposed energy absorption ability. The only time that Android 18 has shown to possess energy absorption is in the Xenoverse games. She does not have this ability in the manga, anime, or movies. Now, of course, you could argue that it's still fair game because Death Battle likes to use composite versions of the characters in which all sources are used for their research. However, in the comments, Ben also replied to someone who questioned why 18 had energy absorption in the video, in which he answered by saying they use all official sources as long as they do not contradict the main source, with him also saying that canonically in Dragon Ball, 18 is never stated or implied to not have energy absorption. But in the manga, 18 herself says that she can't absorb energy. When confronting Dr. Gero, she says, "Why did you go back to using your old energy absorption design? Because we infinite energy models were too powerful to control?" Meaning that she wasn't given the ability to absorb energy because her battery gives her infinite energy, so she didn't need it. 17 and 18 are the only androids belonging to the infinite energy models, as represented by the fact that they lack the weird red circle on their hands that the other androids possess, which lets them absorb energy. 17 did eventually get energy absorption, but that was in GT, which isn't canon. Giving 18 energy absorption in this battle does contradict canon Dragon Ball sources, so by going off of Death Battle's rules, it shouldn't have been included. As for the point regarding how 18 would stop using energy attacks on Captain Marvel, which would prevent her from reaching binary, I kind of understand this argument, but since they used 18's non-canon energy absorption ability as the justification for why she would do this, I think it's highly possible that she would continue to use key attacks, which Captain Marvel could absorb, and eventually reach binary. Finally, for this section, I disagree with the point on how Captain Marvel could only match 18's power as binary, because while 18 can destroy planets, as she's stronger than Frieza's first form, which blew up planet Vegeta, after absorbing some energy, Carol was able to go up against Sentry back when she was Miss Marvel, without turning into binary. And upon looking up Sentry's power, he has the strength of 1,000,000 exploding suns, which puts him at solar system level. Thus, Captain Marvel, after absorbing some energy, scales to Sentry. Plus, here's what they say about 18 being able to break Vegeta's arm.
Leading up to the fight, Vegeta was training in 450 times gravity, making his weight about 55,000 pounds. That means the tibia in his leg would be supporting over 40,000 pounds, the equivalent of 8 pickup trucks.
And here's what they say about Carol's strength.
While training with the Avengers, the combat simulation measured that she could deliver a force of 92 tons. Almost 10 times the destructive power of a Davy Crockett nuclear missile.
I'm pretty sure a nuclear missile has more force than 8 pickup trucks. And Hank Pym said that it likely wasn't even her maximum strength.
Even if Carol had somehow achieved the full force of Binary, that wouldn't have guaranteed a win. I mean, the last time we saw Binary in the comics, she was taken down by some alien guns. Guess she's not as good at absorbing energy as she thought.
No. 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 Hell no. 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 I refuse. No. No.
This is the part that pisses me off the most. Because of this one instance in which Binary was taken down by alien guns means she can't absorb energy very well? I'm sorry, but isn't Death Battle supposed to use its characters at their maximum potential and not use one-off moments like this to explain why a character would lose? In fact, when they explained this during Goku vs. Superman 2, this is what they said.
Saying Superman should lose because he lost to Doomsday is the equivalent of saying Goku should lose because he was one shot by Raditz. We are looking at these characters at their maximum potential, not from some random point in their timelines.
Yet they did the exact same thing here by saying that Captain Marvel loses due to this one moment. And I can prove that this isn't her maximum potential when it comes to both energy absorption and durability. There was a moment when, as Binary, she absorbed most of the energy from a black hole, which in turn means that she can survive the gravitational pull of a black hole, That moment is from the exact same comic where the event the Death Battle mentions took place. So getting shot by the alien guns doesn't reflect Captain Marvel's maximum potential. This pisses me off because they completely went against the rules of the show. And to go off topic here, to further show how great Carol's durability is as binary, shortly after gaining the binary transformation, meaning that she wasn't experienced with it yet, she was able to survive blowing up the home planet of the Brood. Meanwhile, 18's strongest durability feat presented in the video was that she tanked a ki blast capable of destroying a building without a scratch, which I disagree on that last part because she has those black lines in the skin, which in anime typically signifies a character being injured. I have heard that 18's maximum durability is Dwarf Star level because of scaling to Frieza's first form, who also had that level of durability, but I couldn't find any proof of this myself. Not saying that it's wrong, I just don't know if it's true or not. And even if this is true, I'm pretty sure Dwarf Star level is lower than Planet level, unless I'm getting power levels completely mixed up.
With superior speed, strength, tactics, and endurance, Android 18 simply wore Captain Marvel down until it was time to go in for the kill.
Which I all disagree with for the reasons that I mentioned earlier. And that's the end of the video. In my view, while Android 18 is stronger than Captain Marvel's base form in every category that counts, Binary is on a completely different level, and thus would turn the fight around in Carol's favor. Plus, I don't think that it would take too long for Carol to transform into Binary due to the sheer number of ki attacks 18 has at her disposal, and because of how I think she shouldn't have had the energy absorption ability from Xenoverse, since canonically, she doesn't have it. Meaning that based on what Broomstick said, she wouldn't be able to tell that Carol is absorbing her attacks, and also wouldn't have had a defense against Carol's energy attacks. So I strongly believe that Captain Marvel should have won this battle. If their reasoning was instead that 18 would stop using ki attacks against her without using the non-canon energy absorption as the justification to prevent Captain Marvel from becoming binary, then I probably would be more inclined to agree, but that's not what they did. Honestly, this episode just really angered me in the end. Not just because I felt that they completely botched the results and reasoning, but also due to both 18 and Carol being so badly portrayed, with 18 being given an ability that she canonically doesn't have, and Death Battle underplaying her power level, and Carol also being underplayed due to them either only using her base form feats to display her maximum potential, or in the case of durability, using that one moment with the alien guns to justify why she would still lose as Binary. Plus, another reason why I hated this episode, I just thought the fight was really uninteresting, since there wasn't anything in there that I thought was cool or epic. I found the voice acting to be pretty bad, if I'm being honest, and the sprite of Binary was just awful. She has a hole in her head! The only thing that I enjoyed about this episode was some of the jokes in the analysis portion, but that still isn't enough to save this episode for me. I'm not accusing Death Battle of actually doing this, but the way that this episode was handled gave me the impression that they wanted Android 18 to win, so Dragon Ball fans who complain about their characters losing would stop. Because of the fact that they made Carol look like a complete wimp by comparison, and due to them giving 18 the energy absorption to create a connection when she really shouldn't have had it. And if that was the reasoning behind doing this battle, or having 18 win, then I think that instead they should have been like, don't let the haters get to you, be as objective as possible with the analysis and results, and if anybody does complain, then we'll show them that we've had Dragon Ball characters win in the past. Again, I'm not saying for a fact that that's why they did this, it's just the impression that I got. So with me adding Captain Marvel to my haul of characters who I think should have won their death battles, I'll see you guys for my next response video, in which, this time, I'm finally going to do something that tons of people have been requesting for me to do for a long time.